All right, man. We're live. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the West Ham Media Tour. Here presented by Hammers Polls. I think this is episode 6, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a few weeks. I was on vacation, but back at it now with Luke Bailey. Luke, thanks for joining. Appreciate the time. How you doing?
Pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me on. I'm good. I'm all right. I'm calming down from yesterday because it was an amazing game. West Ham in Europe, in the knockouts. It's not the Champions League, but it's still Europe and it's still massive. And it was like Hollywood for me. I don't know about you, but it was for me. And I'm still just sort of, you got Villa on Sunday, and like, I'll be at home, and then you realise next week's the second leg. So
Yeah.
at the minute, I'm just on a high a little bit.
Yeah, it was obviously special to witness that. Especially, I think yesterday was the 4-year anniversary of that Burnley match that we lost 3-0 in, and we had
Yes, it
some
was. Yeah.
fans. I actually was at. I always say this like almost every episode, so I was there that day,
Yeah,
and
so was I.
uh, it was obviously a memorable experience for unmemorable reasons, I'll say. And so just in 4 years now to be playing Sevilla in the Europa League round of 16 is pretty wild. And we'll definitely get to that. But first, I ask everyone this, just how you got into West Ham. Everyone's stories are a bit different, but just interested in yours and how you became a West Ham fan.
Right, well, basically, I was brought up to be a West Ham fan by my dad and my dad's side of the family,
Hmm.
granddad, and it was I sort of got I was about sort of 8 years old when I just started liking football, and then it went from there. I had a Man United mate who was sort of like always bragging that they were winning, and then now they're not winning so much. That's also quite nice now that we're doing better than them
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit in some ways. Um, and it was probably the worst time, but the best time for me to become a West Ham fan at that point because you had the players like Di Canio who were at the club. It was fantastic to watch him, but at the same time, about a year later, of me becoming a fan, we got relegated. So it was on a bit of a bad note. But no, it was just basically a family thing, and it's gone on from there. And I've got a lot of most of our family were sort of London based, and they've moved down out of the area for the last few years. So it's just basically it's in the blood. Basically, there's nothing I can do about it. I think when I was a kid, I kind of wanted to change it because we weren't a big team, we weren't a successful team as all kids do. They want to win all the time. But that probably sort of helped me find my love for it. You love everything else about the club. So it's just one of those things. It's just I think the majority of people. It's this is the thing I said to this before. I think I've been on American Hammers before as well,
Hmm.
and it really amazes me that I think the majority of people who live in the UK who are West Ham fans probably have family who've brought them up to West Ham fans. Now, when you're not from the area of West Ham, where you haven't got a family to support, when you choose to support West Ham,
Hmm.
who aren't a very successful club, who have a tradition of losing pretty much. It's only been the last few years I think I can remember that we've been doing all right. It amazes me. And I'm actually more interested to hear other people's who haven't been brought up in Sport West Ham because I'm thinking
Hmm.
of all the clubs for overseas fans to choose or people that haven't been brought up by family members and, support the club what it was to go, West Ham's my team. That's the team I'm going to support. I'm just going, why would you choose to put yourself through this all the time?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think everyone's story is a bit different. I always say that from a sports perspective, I must love to suffer because even the teams that I support here in the U.S., like baseball and basketball, to a point, most of my teams have struggled. You know, like Chicago Cubs went like 108 years without winning a trophy. So things like that. It's
Yeah,
something I'm used to. I will say though that like my intensity and passion for the club has increased and has really grown through the community of West Ham fans here in Chicago. We have a solid crew of about 10 to 15 people that consistently go to the pub and watch games together, um, and that being a part of that community and that camaraderie. Um, it's the best thing about being a West Ham fan. And even when I go over to the UK, I have people that are over there that I text with on WhatsApp throughout the season. They're always
Yes.
willing to go to games with me and hang out. And so it's really that community and that camaraderie aspect that makes West Ham such a great club. I don't think you'd get that as much, if you supported like a Liverpool or a United or a Chelsea. So yeah, I think that for me, that's sort of why I love the club. There are other reasons too, but that bond. Uh,
You sort of bond over negative, really, don't you? That's the
yeah, in a
thing you
way,
end up
right?
doing that.
It's yeah. I also think, and no person from the UK has told me this, but I'm assuming it's like, if you're like like you're from the UK, you grew up West Ham, and like you even said, like, why would you support West Ham? Like, why would you choose if you had the choice? And but I think you and others over there must look at it and say, well, hey, if you're choosing West Ham and you're actually making the conscious decision to follow this club through thick and thin, then good on you. And
Yeah,
there's that
yeah,
level of respect there, I'm sure.
100%.
Um, yeah, so it's a great club, man, and
It is, yeah,
I
sure.
love every minute of supporting them, even though sometimes at the moment, in certain moments, it's very frustrating. But nonetheless, man, let's talk about that game. There were some frustrating moments in that game yesterday against Seville. Seville
Yeah.
won, West Ham nil. Yeah, what were your overall thoughts on the match?
I thought it was a strange game because I didn't think we'd play as well as we did. Actually, I thought that having Bowen out would be it would be a massive sort of killer for us because even when we've had a few injuries here and there, he's always kind of played, always been there and thereabouts.
Hmm.
And I didn't know how would we take to being away, to be into a club that's won it so many times, that's used to European competition, that's a big team in Spain. They're normally, I think, they're in Champions League quite a lot as well, aren't they?
Hmm.
The fans from the start, their fans were causing noise, and players like Antonio, big bullish, English striker. Normally, they get referees targeting them straight away, so they don't get anywhere. They get looked at as if they're going to foul players all the time and stuff like that. So I was thought to myself, well, we're going to find it tough here. But I think for the first half, I think we played better than them.
I
And
agree.
it was the Vlasic header. I personally like Vlasic. I think he's good. I think he's got more to come. He hasn't been given the game time that other players such as Ben Rama have been to show what he's got. And I think I'm one of the only people here that actually thinks it's a good save the keeper made, because even though he did hit it straight at it, the keeper's still got to put his palm out and save it. It's just unfortunate Antonio missed it as well.
Hmm.
Um, but it followed the pattern that as well as we played, and I think we let them come onto us a bit more in the second half, which is a bit of a shame. But we're not finishing chances. We're creating the chances, but we're not taking them. And David Moyes has put us onto this level of we're now trying to compete with the top teams. And the thing with the top teams is that even if they don't play particularly well, they still score goals. They still come away with a 1-0 win or something like that. And at the minute, and I'm not blaming anyone. I don't blame Antonio, because I think he's not an instinct striker, if you get what I mean. He's a
Hmm.
workhorse up front, and he's being asked to do all the work at the top on his own, to the point where he even has to come to the wing to try and get the ball and try and help out his teammates. So he hasn't got that support. And it's a little bit frustrating. In fact, it's very frustrating, to be honest with you. And it's getting to the point now where you kind of, when the season started, we were scoring goals for fun. We were putting teams away to the sword easily. Now it's like we don't know when we're going to score, how we're going to score, and it's a little bit frustrating. We're playing well, and the players are putting in the effort. But yesterday was a perfect example. I mean, they had players missing, big players like Rakitic, etc.,
Yeah.
and we still couldn't really force our. I think there's one part in the first half where we tried to take a corner, and it was Fornals and Creswell debating who's going to take it, what they're going to do, and then Rice was in the box just looking at him, going, "What are you doing? there's all these players in the box, just get it in there. And then when Chris was at the corner, it went out for a goal kick anyway, so it's
Yeah,
completely
I remember
little
that.
little things like that
Hmm.
have gone against us. You know.
Yeah, I agree with your assessment of the first half. I thought we were, I mean, the slightly better side. But yeah, in the second half, they certainly showed why, they do have European experience, that squad, right? Especially that club, with that success they have in Europa. A very experienced side. Their experience shown through there, and also, I mean, let's also remember that, I mean, we're such a thin squad. We've been saying that for
Yeah.
over a year now, and I think just, it's the getting to the latter part of the season, and it just seems like sometimes in the second half of games we just sort of are fading a bit. And I'm not saying we're not in shape, but players have a certain limit, obviously, and I think fatigue is starting to play a factor. I think it's been playing a factor for Thomas Suchek all year, for example. So
Yeah. hundred
I
percent.
do think we faded a little bit towards the end there, and I'm really glad the referee blew his whistle when he did, because they were knocking on the door for a second. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I do agree with your assessment though that we started off well, but you mentioned it, and everyone else has been mentioning it. The missed chances. I think it was Vlasic, and then Lanzini had a really golden opportunity there in the second half. What, I
Yeah.
mean, what do you think's going on there? Do you think it's
I've got
unluckiness? Do you think it's a mental thing? What do you think it is?
I think it's both. I think
Mm.
there's this kind of thing where in football sometimes there's a bit of magic and sometimes there's a bit of reality, and sometimes you need a bit of luck to go with you when you're at the top. You know, things to bounce off a defender and go in, or an own goal here and there, something like that. At the minute, there's a force field in front of the goal and we can't seem to take it down. I was watching the punditry after the game, and it was on BT Sport there, Joe Cole and Carlton Cole. And both former players of ours, Cotton Cole being a striker, not the most prolific striker, which is quite ironic when he's telling people how to score goals. But I think Joe Cole was saying about Lanzini's miss against Liverpool when he smashed it over the bar, and the way he tried to take his goal last night was very controlled, and he tried to take his time. And by the time he got his foot in
Mm,
position to put it down in the corner, the defender had made the block. And maybe if he tried to get on the end of it and had the confidence to just smash it in the back of the net, it might have been a goal. And that's the psychology of football, thinking, well, I missed that chance, so I've got to make up for it. And all these thousand thoughts are hitting you at 100 miles an hour. In the space of that, chance is gone, and the ball's down the other end of the field. So it's there's a lot of things taken into consideration. I think Antonio is taking on too much more than I think he's lacking service as well. I think when you see Antonio now, no one's putting the ball in the box for him. No one's laying on passes for him to run onto, and he's got to do all the work. He's got to go, hold off the defender, try and get past him, then lay off the ball to a midfielder. So he can it's all too much work. And the
mhm.
thing that's kind of got me lately is that Moyes was asked about it, and he said, "Well, what's going on with your players in front of the goal?" And he said, "Look, I'm not changing Antonio because no one works harder than him. It's as simple as that. You know, in the day, yeah, goals are great, but you need hard work as well." And it's a bit like, well, yeah, but you can have all the hard work in the world, but you still need goals. And it's the January thing. I still can't understand why he didn't bring anyone in. I think maybe there's a lot of things going on in the background, and he's just trying to be nice in the media to try and take the blame off the board. That's my opinion. But we missed a trick not signing one, and I think also as well, it's maybe classic David Moyes of not making subs early enough. I think he's waiting to the 70th minute, 75th minute, 80th minute, and by that time, the players. If you make a sub of 60 minutes, you've got half an hour to try and do something in the game. That's what most managers tend to do.
Mhm.
And he's brought Ben Rama on, and Ben Rama was pretty good yesterday. I actually thought he had one of his better games when he come on. He tried to make stuff happen, almost did. But I think he come on a little bit too late. And, Fornals didn't have his greatest game for West Ham yesterday. And he wasn't taken off till 93rd minute or whatever it was. So there's a number of things. There's confidence, there's fatigue, there's management. There's a lot of things at the minute I think is contributing to it, to be honest.
Yeah, well said. Well said. You mentioned Bowen earlier. Obviously, he was out from the injury against Liverpool. I think he'll be out against Villa as well. Um, I mean, I guess a couple questions related to him. First, do we need him to win on Thursday? Again, next Thursday. Do we need him? to advance?
I I would say yeah, in a way, because you need that quality. It's funny because when we lost 1-0 to Liverpool, the first player that popped into my head that we needed was Lingard, because last season, in the half season, he was that bit of quality that pushed us on to finish where we did.
Hmm.
And I think it's just becoming a little bit apparent to me now that we haven't got that technical ability, that quality in the final third to score goals and make things happen and start running at players. And our players aren't really doing it. We don't really run at players. We try and pass the ball into certain areas. And for Bowen, I think he's not been on top form scoring wise recently, but he does have that ability. I'm surprised how quick he was actually. I think he would play Wolves, and he went through the Wolves midfield like quick as a flash. I didn't actually realize how quick he was. But you need your best players in games like this. You need your best players. You need your best players on top form as well. So I understand why they didn't risk him with an injection or anything like that. They let him rest. Um, it's a bit the same with Rice. I personally don't really think Rice was ill for the Liverpool game. I think they thought of resting him. I think they really thought about no, let's rest. They didn't think Bowen was going to get injured, so they probably thought, well, we'll have Rice and Bowen on the same team away at Seville. We'll have a full fresh squad. Maybe they thought they'd take a dive with Liverpool and say, well, if we lose Liverpool, we lose Liverpool. It was going to happen anyway because they're a great team at home. That's a conspiracy theorist in me, so that is too much. We don't want to, but we need equality really, and I think if you're going to have your best players at your disposal, Bowen needs to be fit. I don't think Dawson apparently has been playing with an injury recently and over painful injection. You don't want that to happen to too many players because it's fine for one game, but what happens in a few weeks' time with the next leg if we go through and Bones will keep having injections. So for me, get him as fit as possible. And get him on that pitch because we do need the quality. So maybe need him to go through is a bit much, but we definitely need the quality. And so maybe I'm gonna say yes for the argument's sake.
If you were the manager and let's say the medical staff came to you and said he's like 75-80% fit at the moment, Luke, we're going to leave it up to you. It's a risk. He may re-injure himself. He may be out the next 3-4 league games. Yeah, you could maybe advance in Europa League, but could risk him, for the next month or so. Would you do it?
Me being a manager in that position, with my infinite wisdom of not being a coach, I would probably actually say bring him as a sub. The reason being is because I think that I've been reading a lot of things on Vlasic lately. And I think the thing with Vlasic is I think he's got the quality in him. The problem is he doesn't get much game time, so he panics and he's desperate
So
to
you
try and make
start
an impact.
Vlasic and have Bowen come off as an
And
impact
then
sub.
maybe have Benrahma even coming on because Benrahma's been decent in Europe. And I think maybe towards the end, maybe about 60 minutes, once you kind of get a gist of how the second half's going, you bring him on then. He hasn't got to play the full game, hasn't got to try and do that. Sometimes you can play a full game, you by the 60th minute, your ankles start playing up, you need to come off or something like that. So if it wasn't going to be an absolute 90% is okay for me to start him. I think anything less than that, and I think bring him as a sub. But what do I know? I'm David Moyes.
You mentioned Benrahma, and there have been rumors lately swirling around of that he may be up for sale in the summer. He also got into a bit of a tiff with Moyes on the touchline. I think that was against Newcastle. And between you and me, I think he's always been Moyes. That is, has always been a bit tough on Benrahma in the press. He's been short of praise with him and a lot of criticism. Warranted sometimes. At times, it's maybe unwarranted. He certainly subs off Benrahma all the time. But one of the polls that I forgot who it was that actually posted on Hammer's polls was, do you think we should sell? And the choices were either no, don't sell, yes, sell, yeah, possibly because it doesn't seem like he's Moyes' first choice, or you don't believe the rumor at all. I'll let you go first and give your thoughts on that.
It's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. Actually, would I actually sell him? The, the, the way currently the way the team is under Moyes, I would sell him, right? And it's not really against him. I think he wasn't. Ben Rama's agent is um, linked with Sullivan, and I think David Moyes at the time wanted Eze, who went to Crystal Palace in the end, and he's never really wanted Ben Rama.
Yeah.
And the thing you find with Moyes is he likes hard-working players, and Ben Rama isn't a hard-working player. What he is a flair player, right? He's a Dimitri Payet type player. I'm not saying he's at that level, but I'm saying that that's the way he plays.
Yep.
And the best thing for Ben Rama to be would be for Moyes to go, don't work hard, free roll, go where you want, do what you want, go past the player, do some tricks, do whatever, right? Because that's the only way for me in this team he's going to flourish. I think Moyes is too hepped up on him running, defending, challenging, doing everything that all the other players do. Also, for me, really, even when Ben Rama has been on top form, I've never really seen him as a Premier League player. It's really strange. I think when he's on top form, he's a very, very good player. But I think overall, he's not actually at this level. And the thing about it is this is West Ham. This is weird talking about us in this situation, but we're aiming for a top 4 finish, right? We haven't got there. I don't think we're going to finish top 4 personally, but we're aiming for that level. I think it's been it's a stretch too far for Ben Rama. I think if he come into a team that was mid-table or in between the mid-table and the relegation battle, so like a Brighton, if he went to a Brighton team or something like that, he'd probably be better used because it'd allow him to play the football he's played. When you see videos of him playing for Brentford, all he done was take it past people, mug players off, nutmeg them, try and do a few, does a few tricks, score a few goals. He was brilliant for them. But with us, he's being asked to do something that he's not that good at, to be honest with you. He's not an industrial player. He won't do what Bowen does, which is knock players off and stuff like that. I think we played Genk, didn't we, in the group stage away from home, and he scored 2 goals, and they were brilliant goals, and it showed exactly what he's got ability, he's got technical ability and brilliance. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to work for him and Moyes. And Moyes isn't really that. I don't think he's that interested in improving him as a player like he is for Nails or Bowen. I think he's just like, well, if you're here, I want you to work hard and do as you're told. And with players like Ben Rama, he seems a good lad, Ben Rama. He loves his mum. He doesn't seem like a maverick, like he's got an ego or anything like that. But I just think he's the wrong type of player for Moyes. I'd love him. I'd love him to come good and be one of our better players and be the first name on the team. And everyone go, yeah, Ben Rama's got to start. Fucking, brilliant. Brilliant. I think everything. People, they want his name on the back. They want everything. He seems like a really, really good footballer and a good lad. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to work under the current management team. It's a shame. It really is a shame.
Yeah, and here are the results, by the way. Most people actually don't believe the rumor. Well, I should say the highest percentage is not believing the rumor. But if you combine the second and third choices, possibly and yes, that's 42%. And I think I would probably select possibly, as he wasn't Moyes' first choice. And you sort of combine that with the yes, where you said yes, I think he's going to be sold because he's not Moyes' first choice. And I really agree with you. The relationship between Moyes and Benrahma reminds me of the relationship between Moyes and Sebastian Haller.
Yeah.
Whereas, he wasn't Moyes' guy. And again, even though Benrahma was signed during Moyes' tenure, it doesn't seem like he was Moyes' first choice.
Yeah.
Haller was obviously signed by Pellegrini. And just like Haller, Benrahma, he doesn't seem to fit. Well, Haller was more didn't fit the system. Benrahma was more doesn't fit the mold of a Moyes player. Like you said, the industrial type player. That was a really good way of putting it. So I do think he'll be sold. I wouldn't be shocked if it was this summer. And I like Said Benrahma. I think he can be a really exciting player. I agree that he has a lot more of improving to do, and I'm not quite sure if West Ham is the best place for him to improve. I think he's probably upper level championship, lower level Premier League talent at the moment. Yeah, like you, I hope he comes good and he does sort of. I mean, I was talking with Rashane Thomas a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying, Bowen was always used to be subbed off. Remember, Bowen always used to come up 65th, 70th minute. And what Bowen did was he didn't go on holiday in the summer. He worked out, worked those calf muscles, worked on his conditioning, worked on his right foot, his weaker foot. And you've seen the results of that hard work, right? Does Benrahma have that in him? I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna say no. The only thing that worries me, Luke, is if we sell him, where's that money going?
Yeah, this is the problem.
This
I
is the
think,
problem.
yeah, this is
This is the
whatever.
problem. I mean, we're still waiting. We're still waiting for a striker, and we sold Sebastian Haller. Uh, what,
Nothing,
over a year ago?
nothing about the January transfer window, and then Moyes' comments made sense because he was saying we're not going to bring in players that aren't suited to the team, and that's absolutely fine. I can respect that. That's in if I'm honest, the last 10, 20 years that's been the exact opposite of West Ham's mantra. Is
Right.
you just bring players in, they'll fit in the squad. No, this is got to get the right players, and that's great. If you've already got a squad that you can manage to a level, and all you're going to do is improve on that.
Hmm.
What we've now got is we're kind of at desperation level where you're thinking to yourself, well, yeah, okay, this player isn't good enough, but we also need someone to go in there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when Moyes, the one thing that I don't understand when Moyes says, "Oh, this player wasn't my player, so he's not going to fit in my team." Fornals wasn't his player, but he's made Fornals into a David Moyes player. Fornals, when he come to West Ham, the videos that I saw of him as Villarreal, he was a technical guy like Ben Rama. He was flares and tricks and stuff like that. But he's converted him into a hard-working engine of the
But Luke,
midfield.
once you say that that's more of a willingness of Pablo to do
There is
that
that,
and
yeah.
become, because you can't really. I would hesitate to say you can teach hard work, right? Because yeah,
Mm,
you can install that philosophy, sure, but at the end of the day, the player has to make the choice to fully buy in.
mm,
Pablo, for me, I agree with you. He had those that flair to him, right? And he still does a little bit. He certainly has that talent and quality on the ball, but he's more of a grinded out industrial type of player. But even when he was signed on, I fell in love with him right away because he's always had that passion, right? He's
yeah.
always just had that emotion, wearing your heart on the sleeve, playing for the badge. It's something that, West Ham fans, I think even for the ones that have slated Fornals for his performances, um, and that criticism has sometimes been warranted, certainly. But I don't think anyone has ever questioned Pablo Fornals' effort, love for
No.
the club, his desire. And I think at the end of the day, if you give 110%, West Ham fans are going to like you at the
Yeah.
very least and most likely love you. So Pablo always had that, I think. So I think I don't think Moyes taught him that. I think it's more that's who he is, and Benrahma just doesn't quite seem to be that. That's my opinion.
No, that's I actually agree, and if I'm honest, that's one thing that as I was making my Ben Rama point, I thought myself actually there is that point, but maybe he has got a bit of an ego. Maybe he doesn't want to turn. But this is the part where there was an interview on Talksport ages ago, and Big Sam Allardyce was asked about his time at West Ham, and he said sometimes you get Sullivan coming down the training ground and just shove a player into him, going, "That's your new bloke. Here you go. Train him up. He's a new player." Allardyce never knew nothing about him. The random player and had to work with him, and maybe this is another point where Sullivan's gone to. Here's Ben Rama. Here's Saeed. Get on with it. Not only that, being a Sullivan buy, he's probably giving him assurances saying you'll get this, you'll get that. And Moyes has gone, no, you've got to work hard in this team. And Brown's gone, well, I thought I was going to get in this team and sort of, shove it may be from the outskirts, he looks outside, he looks from, a mummy's boy, not a mummy's boy, but loves his mum, really good down to earth bloke. But on the training ground, he could be a bit stubborn. He could be a bit of an egotistical guy who's unwilling to change how he's always been. So
I
there
do
is
think
that
he's
point.
willing to work hard though, and I've seen
Mm.
it. It's just not consistent.
No, it's
It's
not
not
connecting, is it? There's
consistent.
something wrong
Right.
there.
Yeah. And again, I think it's just, sometimes players, they do like to maybe take it easy a little bit defensively, right? And they're more of an offense. I mean, look at Lionel Messi. I'm not trying to compare Benrahma to Messi, but Messi doesn't play defense at all, right? Does he need to? No. But some players just have no interest in doing that.
Mm.
Benrahma, unfortunately, sometimes he doesn't have that interest, and I think it has strained that relationship a bit. Hopefully, in the summer, Benrahma and Moyes have a little sit down and they hash it out. And I think, Benrahma does have the opportunity to just say, "Hey, David, like I'm ready to work hard. I understand I got to earn my way back, and believe in me, trust in me, work with me, and we'll get it done." And he has a chance to do that, but we'll see. Another winger that I want to talk to you about, you mentioned Vlasic.
Mm,
You said you're a Vlasic fan. I am too. I do think he hasn't gotten a run out yet. He's starting to get more playing time, and I'm gonna be patient with him. Really, he came in on late in the window in the summer, didn't really get a lot of opportunity in the first half of the season. So I'm chalking up this season to okay, he's improved a little bit. I'm really looking forward to next season and seeing him um, in a more more involved role. Where do you think he's best utilized on the pitch? And we have a poll here. It's either on the one choice is the left side in a false nine position in the 10 role, and then the last choice is prefer other players. He's not good enough. So
fair enough.
what would you say in terms of where you think he's best utilized?
I think he should be playing through attacking midfield slash striker or second striker, if you like. I think that there was something on the West Ham pages. Everton fans were commenting when he signed for West Ham, and they were saying he was terrible for Everton unless he was played through the middle, and he
Yeah,
started to show something. But then they went and sold him to CSK Moscow, and he was scoring goals for CSK Moscow from the central position, attacking midfield and up front. And now he's come to West Ham. He's played there a few times, but he tends to be played more as a winger. And it's strange because I always remember when we signed Javier Hernandez, and I'm not comparing the players, each player, but there was one point under Bilic where I was watching a game at this London Stadium, and this fantastic goal poacher who relied on service into the box was trying to beat a 6'2" left back on the right wing with no help on the right. And I thought this is just classic where West Ham get it wrong. You've got a player there who has shown in previous clubs what he can do given being put in the right position, and he's not being put there. By hook or by crook, whether there's better players in that position, so Moyes has no choice really to go right. You go on the right wing, you go on the left wing. It's different. That's just a different conversation. But for me, if you're going to play him, clearly he's only. I don't think he's got the speed or the power to play on the wing. I think he's shown. I think he's a niggly little player who likes to get in and amongst the defence and try and beat and go. And Rice has recently come out and said that he's one of the strongest players he's ever played against in training and stuff like that. So with that said, you're looking for someone to try and give Antonio a bit of a rest. I would play him up front. I'd seriously just as a false nine. There's Man City this season been playing. I'm not comparing us to Man City, but they've been playing majority of this season. Jesus hasn't really been playing much, and he's been playing with Foden through the role. There's no reason why he can't be played there. And I think if you're going to get the best out of a player, you've got to try and put him in the best position. So for me, it would be central role for me in an attacking sense.
yeah. A lot of people agree with you, especially in that number 10 role. And yeah, that's what I've been reading too about how he wasn't successful on the wing, but through the middle of the pitch, he's been great. I selected the 10 role as well just because of that. I didn't follow him in his Everton or his Moscow days, but yeah, I think, yeah, I think he hasn't really shown a whole lot on the wing. So I'm not a soccer tactician by any means, but yeah, hey, if people say that he's been playing better through the middle of the pitch, give him a chance. I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean, Lanzini's sort of that favored number 10 guy, and Lanzini certainly isn't a winger, so it's sort of like, all right, well, give or take.
Lanzini's a strange old player. I think he's been moved to a deeper role
Yeah,
over the last year or so. So maybe we could make that work somehow. But I know what you're saying. Lanzini over Vlasic, you're obviously going to go for Lanzini because he's the better technical player. At least we think he is because you haven't got to see Vlasic be the technical
yeah,
player yet, so we wouldn't know. But yeah,
we'll see. I certainly don't think Moyes is going to change anything this season. He's just going to stick with how everything's been going. And let's talk about the next match in the season. Aston Villa, hot team, hot team, won 3-0 on Thursday, and won 4-0 the match before. Stevie G looks like he's found his groove there at Villa Park. Um, I'm interested in your thoughts on the match. Actually, let's start with that. So, your thoughts on the match against a Villa team that has scored 7 goals in the last 2 games and has kept 2 straight clean sheets. Thoughts?
Well, based on what you just said, I'm now preparing for defeat. No, it's going to be a tough game. We played them in Dean Smith era with no Coutinho and beat them 4-1 for fewer late goals. This time around, they're going to be full of confidence. Coutinho on fire, and he does scare me. And it's coming at a weird time because even though we've played well against Seville, we've still lost, and we come back to London Stadium, back into Premier League mode after losing 1 at Liverpool, and we're not scoring goals. So that makes it even worse. It's going to be very, very interesting how we try and deal with that, because you've got the mental blockage of I think technically after what happened last night, everyone's minds, including the players, is probably on next Thursday. And it shouldn't be like that, but I think that's just, you kind of get caught up in it all. And they're just coming back from Spain on the plane, and they're going to be, thinking about other things. I don't think this is going to be almost the main game in their heads, which is a bad thing, really. And this is what, if we're going to be in Europe constantly, this is what we've got to try and deal with. That defence has got to be, we've got to be on it. And I think we have to work a lot on counter attacks, because they've got some quick players. Danny Ings used to love scoring against us, I think, when he played for Southampton. Ollie Watkins, who plays for him, I'd take him next year for West Ham. I think he's a great player. I think he's really, really, really good at industrial, good finisher as well. But they're going to be a tough team. I think they're going to be one of the toughest opponents we've actually had this season. So I'd take a 2-1. I know we're not doing predictions yet or anything like that, but I'm just thinking of my head and we're getting it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take a draw right now, man. I really would.
Yeah.
Just because, and here's the thing now. It's going to be interesting to see, what should Moyes do with the lineup? What should Moyes do with the lineup in terms of resting players for Thursday? Because it's a balance, right? It's it's an important Premier League match. We're still battling for European places. However, we're in Europe right now. We're in a tough tie, but we're in it. We need to win. If we win at home, it at least goes to extra time, right? Win a game at home. How many times have we done that, right?
Yeah.
So it's what do you do? What should Moyes do?
I think maybe he has to rotate a little bit. There's going to be sort of fitness levels in hand for Thursday. But Moyes is very good at this. He's very strange. I think in his interview last night, they were asking him about teams and what's his next strategy and stuff like that. And he was very like, yeah, well, I'm not going to tell you that. That's going to be for me to know and you to find out on the day and whatever. And he's also very, very clever at waiting. You don't know what the team's going to be until it comes out an hour before kickoff, which is quite interesting. Sometimes, and other times you just think, well, we knew. Sometimes it's predictable, sometimes it's not predictable. He's been playing this three at the back sometimes with 2 wing backs, but the left wing back is like a Fornals or a Ben Rama, and it doesn't. I don't know if it really works. I think he worked against Wolves, who won 1-0. Tried the same thing against Southampton in the Cup, and it didn't work. So I don't think he's going to change it up too much, but I think he'll just tweak it a little bit here and there. And we know that the usual suspects, Antonio is going to play. Lanzini will play. Zuma will play instead of Diop. And I don't think he really should. I think he should be given I don't think he's been top form recently, but Suchek should be dropped, but he won't be dropped. So it's funny. I was saying something the other day, and when we had Sam Allardyce as manager, people used to hate it because we just hoofed the ball at the top to Andy Carroll, whatever. But now Dawson just seems to hoof it up to Antonio, and no one seems to mind. And it's like, it's almost quite predictable that, if we don't go through Rice trying to run through the midfield and lay it off, we have Dawson throwing the ball over up to Antonio. So most decent, good teams who are right at the top never really change their team. Who's playing. It's made up of the same players more or less all the time. And maybe that's what he's trying to go for, but he's got no choice really with no new signings brought in. So I think he might have to tweak it, but knowing more, he won't. So I think it'd be very similar to the team that played Thursday night, to be honest.
Yeah, I think there definitely are some changes that he should make. Some that I would make. I would put Fabs in goal. Uh, I'd like to give Zuma a rest, but I think Zuma's got to
Hmm.
play. You'd put Diop in there for sure. Um, in the fullback positions, I think Fredericks will start.
Yeah,
Um,
someone else said that to me tonight, and I was a bit
yeah,
surprised by that. But I think
yeah,
you're right.
just to give Johnson a rest, I think.
He was
Or
fantastic last night.
or maybe even move Johnson to the left back because he's young. He's got those young legs. He's got to give Cress a rest, I think.
Mm.
Um, I'd give Cresswell a rest and start Fredericks on the right and either start Masuaku on the left, or if you don't trust Masuaku, put Johnson over there. He can play left back. Um, I would start Noble and I would either start Suchek and sub him off at halftime for Rice or vice versa. Have him play a half game. Um, Ben Rama in there. I think Ben Rama
Yeah,
starts. I I think you got to start either Lanzini or Fornals. I just don't know who else you'd play. And honestly, I'd start Perkins up top. I'd start Perkins up top. I mean, give Antonio unless Antonio feels good and the medical staff says yeah he's good and he feels fine. But I'm always nervous about him pulling another hamstring.
he's miraculously managed to not pull a hamstring this year. I think he said
Yeah,
himself he's changed his diet and his workout training program, and he's helped him a lot. So amazingly, he's had almost a full season in and playing for Jamaica as well,
yeah,
which is really really amazing for him. It's funny you mentioned Perkins there because it was me. I go for Okaflex because I feel that
mm,
Okaflex is more of a Antonio type
yeah.
player. He's more
I'd
of
be
an
fine with either, man. Honestly,
yeah.
give a youngster a chance. I'm good with either.
I watched a couple of under 23 games, and Perkins strikes me as more Haller type player. Like he's got to be given the ball for him to
Mm,
score the goals, whereas Ogaflex was literally running past 5 or 6 players, taking it past and out muscling, do a bit of skill and stuff like that. And I think if the two of them are going to play, I'd rather Ogaflex play. But I know what you mean. Totally, just freshen it up a little bit. Chuck a young guy in there, wants to prove himself, give him his chance, and see how it goes. It won't happen like that, unfortunately. We all know,
You're probably right. You're probably right.
we all know what was is like. But yeah, I agree with you, mate.
Yeah, yeah. All right, man. We'll wrap this up. Before we do, a couple things. First, I think you said 2-1 West Ham this
Mm.
weekend. Uh, what do you have a prediction for next Thursday?
Do you know what? I've been reading a lot of Twitter things today about how ironic it would be for a last minute winner. Um, it, it's going to be under the lights. It's going to be buzzing. I'm going. Brother's
Nice.
going. Dad's going. Dad's mate's going as well. It's going to be an amazing night. I can't wait. I honestly believe it will be something along the lines of 3-1 West Ham.
Mm,
We have to get an early goal, in my opinion, in the first half, just to set the standard. Say, no, we're here. If they score, it's not too bad because you know you scored a goal already. You can score another goal, and then maybe towards the end, I've got a crystal ball next to me. I'm just rubbing it and I'm trying to find all the answers. But no, I think there'll be goals in it. And I think if we start scoring against Aston Villa, that'll give us the constant
mm.
confidence to go and score against Aston Villa. So we've got to go for it. We've got to beat them. I know they're the champions. They've won it 4 times in a row, whatever it is. But there's no Unai Emery for them this season. So hopefully that's the thing we need. And we was unlucky not to get a draw yesterday, in my opinion. So no doubt we could do it at home with our best players firing all cylinders.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 1-1 to against Villa. 1-1. I think it screams an ugly draw to me. To be honest, I think it'll be grinded out, and then I'm gonna go West Ham 2, Sevilla 1, extra time to penalties. Mark Noble, last kick wins it. That's my prediction. Penalty win. West Ham advances. But in all seriousness, Luke, if we do knock out Sevilla in Europa League, you have to just say we can win it all. We can win it all. If we win this tie, I know it's only the quarterfinals then if we advance, but if we can beat Sevilla, we can beat anyone. We can beat anyone.
Joe Cole said it after the group we won the group, I think it was something like that, and he said Villarreal beat Man United in the final um, last season to win the Europa League and go for a Champions League. He said man to man, our team is better than Villarreal. Maybe he's been a bit uneducated, doesn't follow the league, or doesn't know their team in and out. But I think you've got a point. I did, it's funny because when England were in the Euros and we got Germany in the, I think, round of 16 or whatever it was, people go, "Oh, don't Germany because they'll knock us out early." And my whole mantra is, if you're going to be the best, you got to beat the best.
Absolutely.
Bit of a Ric Flair thing going. You got to beat the man. You got to beat the man. And that's for me. You got to do. No matter who you play, if you're going to win it, you're going to win it. So
Yeah, you're
totally
gonna have
agree.
to play the best at some point, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then your poll was, who do you prefer at right back? I think we put this up here earlier. Johnson, the heavy favorite. I mean, he's been playing better than Sufal this season. I love Vlad. I think he's awesome, but I think he's probably second choice right now to Johnson, and he's
Yeah.
a good backup. I mean, to have Sufal as a backup right back, that's pretty good, especially in a position
Nothing.
that West Ham have struggled in recent years.
Nothing against Sifal. I think he's fantastic. I think he wears his hearts on his sleeve, and he was absolutely brilliant last year.
Hmm.
Maybe the injury has,
Yeah.
but it was ironic to me that he signed his contract and then his performances dipped after that. So I don't know. I mean, he might be a little bit like, "I got my money now. I hope you afford." But no,
We'll see.
Johnson for me is the go-to for now. He is anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's our future right back. He's the future. So I agree with you on that, man. Hey, we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks for joining, man. Really appreciate it. It was nice meeting you.
Same to you, mate.
Putting
Thank
a
you for having me
Twitter
on.
account to a face. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Decent.
And yeah, enjoy Thursday night, man. That I'm very envious of you, and hopefully we can advance.
I'll send you some footage if I get some footage on my phone. I'll show you what I can. All right, I've got
Oh,
you on
please
Twitter
do.
now, so that'd be brilliant.
Please
No
do,
worries.
man. Please do. All right, man.
But,
Take care. Have a good
cheers,
rest of
mate.
your day, and thanks again.
Nice one. Cheers, mate. Up the
Cheers.
hammers.